An aerial view of Indian agriculture under sustainable agriculture and risk management. Indian agriculture is akin to huge aeroplane without fuel. Can it fly? The fact that agriculture engages 43% of total workforce in the country, 60% of country's total land area cultivation, and uses 83% of fresh water justify the analogy of huge aeroplane. India is net food exporting country after feeding 1.35 billion people, yet farmers' income level has not increased as expected. Clearly something is missing in our agriculture. We need to find that missing fuel which will take our agriculture to the new heights. This session seeks to give an aerial view of country's agriculture and how to make it profitable, that is to say that both diagnostic and policy imperative will be briefly delved. Importance of agriculture is to be viewed not from the perspective of just food security, but it goes far beyond this. It has the ramification on national sovereignty. Wheat aid to India in mid 1960, just as an example, was thought to be used as an instrument to arm twist a sovereign country. This example amply illustrates the possibility of national interest getting compromised in the event of heavy dependence on other countries for key stable food supply and hence the importance of food security. India moved from import dependence to self-sufficiency and then to net food exporting country, and the rest is history. The broad perspective of agri policy is to bring about a qualitative and positive change in the lives of the farmers of India. How can we move forward to achieve the objective? Let me briefly share my thoughts under 9 broad categories. First, reorienting policy framework and governance. Agriculture, irrigation and rural development is one of the 3 constituents of aspirational India theme of Union Budget 2020. Ensuring food security to ever increasing population by increasing agriculture output has been the cornerstone of the development of agriculture sector in India since mid 1960. This has been broadly accomplished. Implicit in this strategy was an underlying assumption that benefit of augmentation in production and productivity would have trickle down effect on farmers' welfare in terms of their income levels. However, this assumption has eluded the nation. Therefore, policy framework is being reoriented to explicitly bring farmers' welfare to the center of development agenda. 2. Diversification to high value agriculture. 1% growth in agriculture is at least 2 to 3 times more effective in reducing poverty than the same growth coming from non-agriculture sector. Giving rising income level, consumption pattern in general are shifting away from cereals toward the high value commodities. India can ill afford to continue with laying emphasis on increasing production of traditional crops which may not necessarily translate into the augmentation of farmers' income. The focus on diversification to high value crops and the adoption of emerging technology are being emphasized. 3 is agriculture marketing and strengthening infrastructure. Marketing system has to direct and crystallize demand, develop capacity to ensure operational and pricing efficiencies. Marketing efficiency is to be achieved by reducing dispersion between prices paid by the consumers and those received by the farmers. Often farmers suffer from distress sale due to gaps in the storage and marketing infrastructure, poor handling practices, lack of proper storage infrastructure and absence of post-harvest protocol. The country suffers huge post-harvest losses. The reforms in storage, integrated cold chain, warehousing, marketing and processing have been initiated. The bottlenecks in the grant of agri credit by the regional rural banks are being removed. 4th is stable agriculture trade policy. A cogent agriculture trade policy ought to be rooted in the long-term food and nutritional security concerns of the country, along with promoting and integrated farmers with the global market. However, the instrument of international agri trade is often used to control prices in the domestic supply in reaction to the short-term supply bottlenecks. Such a knee-jerk reaction to restrict or impose an outright ban on export is an implicit tax on farmers, and such an approach adversely impacts the farmer's income. Major bottlenecks in enhancing agri export needs to be removed to make it stable and more rational agri trade policy. Fifth is sustainability concerns in agriculture. The paradigm of food deficiency and growing population that obtained in the mid 1960s led to adoption of technology encapsulated as green revolution. Though this imparted a state of food security, it was resource extractive in terms of depleted water table, deficiency of several nutrients, land degradation. This necessitated increasingly intensive input usage to realize the same yield per unit. The situation is compounded by the climate change that has already begun to show its harmful impacts. Given the certainty of climate change, mitigation, coping and adaptation measures also deserves the importance of production strategy. The agricultural ecosystem, necessary sustainability factors, countering the existing stress on soil, water and also the larger ecology issues need to be fixed. Sixth is risk management in agriculture. Agriculture system is exposed to various risks which are closely associated with damage or loss. Such risks are linked to monsoon and markets. Risk mitigation normally requires thought on both financial cover and physical actions. The ability to take a risk or challenge new frontier is highly limited in case of farming community. It is imperative to prepare the farmer to be ready to identify risks, evaluate, negotiate and manage them appropriately to minimize the negative outcomes. The strategy that help build resilience and capacity to recover from challenges resulting from natural calamities as well as to counter the risk that results from man-made action, information asymmetry, marketing and markets. Seventh is empowering the farmers. In today's situation where the majority of farmers generate increasing amount of marketable surplus, particularly in case of certain commodity, there is a strong demand for knowledge and assistance in post-production phase. At the same time, climate change led vagaries require renewed attention to the associated shift in risk, which include changes in seasonality pattern, nature of pest and disease, crop planning and input requirements. A suitable architecture for extension system that will meet the changing demands of a market-led and income-centric agriculture economy needs to be developed. And the optimal blend is needed between manpower and technology-based extension. Eighth is doubling farmers' income. A paradoxical situation prevails in India where per capita income is rising, production of food grain is rising, along with the increasing number of malnutrition and stunted children. Given huge disparity in income level in agriculture and non-agriculture sector, the need to reorient governance to place farmers' prosperity at the center of development agenda is widely felt. For the purpose of meeting the national agenda of doubling farmers' income, there is a need to direct the scientific research into areas that can bring income gains in the comparatively short-term term for all agriculturalists, especially for underdeveloped and poorly resourced farmers. The focus is to move from science of discovery to science of delivery. Linking farmers with optimal demand and assisting the marketing system to develop optimized supply chain operation are critical areas where technology can add great value to the farmers. A system approach to develop farms and farmers as enterprise be promoted. Ninth is agri policy. Agriculture sector, huge in size and complex in nature, cuts across domain and therefore the approach to it cannot remain in the narrow prism of traditional farmers' discipline. The prime objective of agriculture development is being moved from production centric to income centric. This requires a multitude of cross-domain consideration in bringing holistic and long-lasting strategy to the agriculture sector. Indian agriculture society can find renewed global predominance as the world faces growing population and industrial demands. And this will happen in the backdrop of climate change. We need to redefine the agriculture and approach the sector from the perspective of the primary actor, namely the farmers. To summarize, agriculture sector is interconnected with all socio-economic backdrops. The approach to it requires a multitude of cross-domain consideration. India's a remarkable turnaround of her agriculture from food importing country to self-sufficiency and then to net food exporting country without concomitant increase in the farmer's income is a paradox of sort. Therefore, the farmers' welfare has to be brought to the center of development agenda. Only then Indian agrarian society can find renewed global predominance.